Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And today with me, I have my guest, Chelsea Haines. I'm so excited to have her on the show today and to talk about all the magic she does on a day-to-day basis. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thanks, Christina. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind? And if you don't mind talking about things that are not just professional, if you'd like to share some things personal, that would be awesome too. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Fantastic. I, first and foremost, I'm an expat with my husband. My husband and I live in Panama, Central America. We moved here full time last year and we absolutely love it. We were nomads for 6 years, truly living out of suitcases only. So it's been really fun to ground down again and have a home to put roots in and dig in a little bit. In that time, I've also launched a new business. I've been a certified health coach for many, many years, and I saw a need in the health coaching industry, specifically gut health. I've launched the Gut Health Agency, where we merge health coaching with functional testing. It's a big gap in the functional medicine world because at the end of the day, you can't supplement your way to optimized health. So that is now my passion and my pride and joy. I also have a degree in psychology and a specialty in subconscious rewiring of limiting beliefs, as well as, of course, a lot of gut health certifications and learning. So we really are focusing on mind, body, soul healing over here for high-performing women. And majority of the people that we work with are entrepreneurs, CEOs, even moms who run really busy households, and at the end of the day are not thriving like they maybe once were. And that's what we help people do. And to be able to do it virtually from Central America and help people all over the world, it really is a dream come true.
It is awesome. I am excited to talk to you about this stuff because you know where I sit, on the side of the nutraceutical space, right? And like the understanding that, there isn't a magic elixir out there. I work in cannabinoids, I work in psilocybin, I work in all these different things, and a lot of times patients think that that's the magic bullet when actually it is mind, body, and soul. If you don't have everything working together coherently with one another, you really aren't living your best life. So this is awesome to be able to talk about this because I totally believe in gut health. At Spectral Analytics Precision Tele-Monitoring, that's the tech company that I'm the CEO for. One of the things that we are going to start analyzing as patients start to come through, whether it's clinical studies that we're managing through our sister company, Avum, which is our transdermal biotech company that also has powders and creams and all kinds of things, KT tape, oral film. We're locked in on the nutraceutical side. We are very interested in gut health. So we have programmed the Spectral Analytics Precision Tele-Monitoring side, and also the electronic data capture side for trials to be able to collect data as it relates to gut health because people think they have a cold, right? Like we were talking, you were saying, hey, Christina, I've been traveling and have a cold. You sound perfect. You look beautiful. I can't hear the cold or the congestion. But what do people normally think when they have a cold? They think it's, oh, well, it's sinuses, it's my allergies, it's this and that. A lot of times it goes back to your gut. And so what do you think about that? What do you think?
Yeah, there's even been some really interesting studies over the last few years of living through a pandemic and dealing with COVID, and when looking at the severity of symptoms between people, when we also look at their microbiome. So this is what we do at the Gut Health Agency. We use top QCPR technology to map your microbiome, so we really get an in-depth look into actually what's happening inside the rainforest that is your gut. And of course, we could dive a little bit deeper into how to optimize that and why you might be getting sick. And it really is all about the terrain. Why is your body an opportune environment for infection to thrive? But when we look at the severity of different people with different microbes and their reaction to viruses, our gut really determines a lot of the outcome of sickness. And it's been really cool and fascinating to see, especially over the last few years as we've been collecting this data and, the reactions of people, their symptom severity versus the opportunistic or the bad bacteria versus the good bacteria ratio in your microbiome, it really does play a huge role into the bigger picture of your optimized health and wellness.
It's interesting that you bring this up because we're in the process of in-licensing 3 nutraceutical antibiotics and through Ava. And I was designing some of the preliminary protocol synopsis type things. And one of the things I specifically put in there purposely was microgut biome, because I want to see, what's going on here with the gut health of these individuals, because of what we just, we started talking about in the beginning, is that a lot of times people think they have a cold because it's their sinuses or allergies or what have you, when in fact it's the gut. The gut is, in my opinion, the hub of the human body. And then everything else are spoked out, the heart and everything else, right?
Yeah, a lot of people will say it's your second brain, and I like to counter that and say it's actually your only brain, right? Because at the end of the day, the brain that lives inside our head, we're pretty much operating 97% of the time in our subconscious mind. Basic safety survival mechanisms and the way we relate to ourselves and the world around us is basically determined on our first 7 years of life and how we learned how to navigate the world around us and the traumas that we experienced, and that's chronic stress, all, little t, big T, it doesn't matter. We've all experienced traumas. And in our first 7 years where we really don't understand how the world works, we formulated beliefs in how the world works. So we're operating in that map. And then on top of that, your gut is actually where over 95% of serotonin is actually produced. So your happy feelings are actually coming from your gut. And if you're really struggling with anxiety and depression, it's really interesting to consider studies based on, again, your microbiome and the different ways that the scale is showing opportunistic or quote unquote bad bacteria versus the good bacteria, which is going to keep all of the other bacteria and viruses in check. I mean, we are one big virus and bacteria, and we all live with yeast and protozoa and all sorts of different things all over our body, but we start having problems when those opportunistic bacteria can thrive. And that can only thrive when the terrain of our body creates an environment for the opportunistic bacteria to thrive. And it's actually not as scientific or hard as many of us would believe to get back to a place of homeostasis and balance. And I think that's part of our bigger mission at the Gut Health Agency, is to unlearn a lot of what diet culture and the quick fixes have convinced us that we need in order to detox teas and all these diets and fads that ultimately are only quick fixes and therefore are not even fixes at all. They're just symptom management.
It's a Band-Aid, it's like
just a Band-Aid.
It's putting a Band-Aid on. I know, like, for example, I'm in the United States, I'm in the Philadelphia area. And unfortunately, when we got on, sorry, I don't mean to say that way. When we started talking, we were talking about things, and I disclosed to you that unfortunately I had caught COVID this year. I went 2 years without it. Then I got it because of, something I had to handle from a personal standpoint that I can't really talk about right now, only because there's some things tied to it. But I will sometime soon, hopefully. And I was curious after I had COVID, because obviously I know a lot about COVID. I've been working on it for 2 years, drug development wise, specifically in the nutraceutical space. I'm working with 2 companies that have COVID treatments. And I was interested to see what happened to my gut biome, right? So I go to Penn, for my primary care. So it's not like I go to, no offense to like the smaller physician groups, I go to the University of Penn, primarily selfishly because I'm also a cannabis patient and they're part of the Chapter 20 program here for research purposes. So I don't have to fight as hard with my physicians when I disclose the fact that I take cannabis for my autoimmune diseases.
Yep.
So I asked them when I went in for my long hauler visit, because of course I pushed the envelope, like, listen, I need a full blood workup. I want to see the beginning and where I am metriced out and stuff. But I asked them about, hey, I'd like to get my gut microbiome tested. I'd like to see where I am. I want to see how I can fix some of these long hauler symptoms I have. because of the fact that I got COVID and I was already, I have a compromised immuno with the autoimmune diseases. And so, of course, they say, well, you have to go to a specialist, blah, blah, blah. It's probably not going to be in your network. It's probably going to be X amount of dollars you have to pay out of pocket. Now, listen, I already pay for my insurance because I'm self-insured because I'm a self-funded CEO, right? With multiple companies. So I pay for my insurance. And so it's like, I'm already paying a lot of money for my insurance. And now I'm curious about this, and I can't get my insurance. My insurance is kind of teetering. And I'm like, but there's lots of research out there, academic, to support my claim and request to have this done because I want to feel better.
Yeah, we hope that this changes eventually because we are cash pay. The Gut Health Agency, we're cash pay for that same exact reason. You may be able to get the cost of your test reimbursed, maybe, but it's a rigmarole. It's a paperwork. It's about $300 to $400 cash pay for the GI map test. You could order it yourself. There's websites that you can get on and order it yourself, but of course your physician won't tell you that. Of course, here at the agency, it's all included in tuition and we take care of all of it for you. It's a really easy at-home test and it gives us huge insight into what's going on. Now, my personal journey was also autoimmune disease. That's what got me into gut health. And I'm grateful that I've never had to go on biologics. I never had to go on immunosuppressants to manage my autoimmune diseases. And that's because I've navigated life through optimizing my gut health and really looking at those IgG markers and looking at inflammatory levels. And, at the end of the day, if you are just eliminating foods because you're sensitive to a bunch of fruits and vegetables coming from the earth, then that's not a food problem, honey. That's a gut problem. If your immune system is attacking yourself and you're having to kill your immune system because of all these awful symptoms, well, maybe there's actually something happening on a deeper level that your immune system is trying to fight the good fight, but it just doesn't know what it is because, when it comes to parasites and viruses and bacteria, they're very, very smart. We've seen evidence of that over the last few years. Viruses mutate. They're very, very, very smart. Same with parasites. They put a biofilm around themselves so they cannot be found or you have to even do certain things to coax them out in order for them to show even on a GI map test. So of course your immune system is going to go awry thinking, oh my gosh, whether it's some type of debris or toxic load is happening in my body and your immune system is just doing what it does best. And that's to fight the good fight. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit confused because it doesn't know what it's fighting because those bacteria and viruses are super smart at hiding from the front end, white blood cells, front end warriors.
It kind of goes dormant. It is undercover, so to speak.
Yeah, literally, it's called a biofilm. I mean, literally a parasite that has wiggled down deep into your tissues has created a biofilm. That's why we have to sometimes put some people with certain symptoms, we put them on a biofilm disruptor, but we can't even do that. I mean, if you're not pooping every single day, we're not going to put you on a biofilm disruptor. That'd be like, shaking up a beehive without having an exit strategy. And those bees are just going to go completely all hot and angry inside. We don't want that to happen. We need to make sure that other things are working. And by the way, if you're not pooping every day, you need to call me right now. I don't care how many years you've only pooped 2 to 3 times a week. You need to be going 2 to 3 times per day. If you're not going every single day to the bathroom, then you're not properly eliminating, even excess hormones like estrogen in your body. And especially for women as we age and we go through menopause, excess estrogen really causes a whole nother cascade of issues in the body. So, if you're concerned of long-term health problems, but you say, oh, I don't have gut issues, but I've just always gone to the bathroom 2 to 3 times per week, then we really need to dig deeper because though something may be typical for you, it's not normal. Bloat, headaches, migraines,
potassium up and down, white, red blood cells fluctuating, sugar fluctuating. They're all signs that there's issues with your gut.
Yeah. And even on a simpler level than that, I mean, you don't even need to go into the science might sound a little bit overwhelming. And we're here to try to communicate to the general public, like, listen, if you have headaches every day, or if you have painful periods, or if you're not menstruating, if you have rashes all over your body, your blood work might come back as normal, but even food cravings. Food cravings, absolutely. I mean, food cravings
Hmm.
are interesting. So we dive deep into people's relationship with stress and how that affects their relationship with food. And, when it comes to different food cravings, it can be a sign that your body is deficient in something. And it could also be an emotional craving that you've
Hmm.
learned a habit to turn to food. So yeah, this is where the comprehensive approach is really important, because even a functional medicine doctor is not going to have the time, not because they don't have the passion, but because they don't have the time to sit with you and dig deep into your pains and your emotional relationship with yourself and the world around you.
It's absolutely true. So I'm smiling again because I had to go in because it's required by my insurance to go in for a physical. And, I have doctors that work with me all the time. They're my doctors. My chief medical officer specifically is who really treats me, not Penn. I only go to them because I have to cross a T, dot an I, whatever, for insurance purposes. So I go for my physical. And as I'm sure you could tell, Chelsea, I'm very, specific. I pay attention to my body. Yes, I'm a clinical researcher, so I do have a leg up on that. But I go in and I start telling him everything, right? This, that, you asked me to come in. You told me to tell you what was, going on. And I started going through it, and he just couldn't. It was like his head was ready to blow up. And he's like, I'm only here to do this for 15 minutes. They booked me. And I said, hold on now. When I called, I advised the receptionist that I needed to talk to you about my long hauler syndrome as well, because I'm having symptoms. And I was very clear that I needed extra time. It's not my fault. There was a mishap with the scheduling, but they've got to get you in and out, in and out, in and out. And here there was a young girl that was a resident in my session, of all sessions. I said to her, because she had to come and give me a tetanus shot, because I was up for one of those. And I really was like, I better get one, because I don't know what to do if I step on a can, God forbid, from a nutraceutical standpoint. I haven't figured that out yet. So I thought, okay, go ahead and do it. But I said to her, did you learn something today about patient care and how you should work with your patients and have an empathetic heart and mind? They need to be conjoined. It's not a separation of church and state when it comes to treating patients. And she was like, yes, I did. I said, so you remember me, from a clinical research side, but from a patient advocacy side, because I was advocating for myself because I wasn't being heard.
It's important to remember that your doctors work for you.
That's right.
You are hiring your doctors to work for you, not the other way around. And I think, patient advocacy is one of those things it's a whole nother conversation. And it's, again, I don't believe that there's bad doctors out there. I just think it's a bad system that they're working in, and they only have certain, times and time limits is really what it comes down to, which is unfortunate, because in their mind, ultimately they're working for the insurance company. So this is why, I only have catastrophic insurance. I've never had any other kind of insurance. And the reason for that is because I want my doctors to work for me. So I'm cash pay, period.
Yeah.
I would rather pay my doctors directly, and that gives them a lot more flexibility in what they can say and what they can do and what tests they can order. So when I go in asking for a full thyroid panel, not just my regular T3, T4, which is probably going to come back normal, but my inflammatory markers might come back high, it gives them the opportunity to wiggle a little bit more. And I know not everybody has that opportunity to be able to do that. But for me, it was either, pay $1,000 a month and be stuck, or pay $300 cash to my doctor and have them actually work for me rather than the insurance company. Because guess what? Insurance is not cheap either.
No, it's not.
I'm a self-pay CEO too. So I'm paying for it myself. So it's just who I choose to give my money to and how I choose to do it. And obviously we do have catastrophic insurance in the case of some really serious, thing, and we're hospitalized for months and months at a time. But ultimately, my daily practitioners, the people who help support me in my health journey, I pay them outright. And believe it or not, a lot of people won't tell you this, but when you go to the hospital and you're cash pay, usually you'll get a big cut because they can charge the insurance companies for every nickel and dime. Whereas if you're cash pay, you may not, the bill will look a little bit different. And I have personal experience with that too. But yeah, I think it's important also to kind of circle it back to gut health, even because I think a lot of people think like, okay, well, this is obviously really important. Like what can I do for my gut health? And Christina, you mentioned about like teaching a lesson, and I'm mindful of the time here too, but I think ultimately a huge takeaway is, regarding gut health, is it's not what you're doing for gut health. It's how you're doing it. So I'll give you an example here. And if you're exercising and doing HIIT workouts 6 days a week, and the whole time you're thinking, oh my God, I have to lose 10 pounds because that's the only way that I'm going to receive safety, love, and acceptance. Or, if you're eating a quote unquote dogmatically healthy food like a salad, but you're doing it, while your boss is yelling at you, at the end of the day, if your stress levels are through the roof, it doesn't matter what you're doing because if your stress levels are in fight or flight mode, if your nervous system is in a sympathetic state, you're not going to reap the benefits. I always say your doing is going to be more potent when who you're being is in a rest and digest state. A lot of people have never even heard that phrase before because we love to talk about fight or flight and the hustle in our culture. But the rest and digest state, your parasympathetic state, the other 50% of the time that you're alive, this is really where you need to be in order for your doing to even matter. So if you're doing all the things, but you still feel like crap and you're still experiencing autoimmune symptoms and you're still not going to the bathroom every day, but you eat healthy and you work out and you drink the water and you do all the things, it doesn't matter what you do. If who you're being is stressed AF, then everything else is going to fall short of the finish line. So what we help you do here is recalibrate your nervous system. And it's amazing to see, even in the first 4 weeks of our 6-month program, the massive changes that people experience when they just incorporate some really easy stress relieving techniques and mindfulness when it comes to their relationship with themselves and, again, the world around them, including food. Ultimately, if you're well, I'll give it this example really just to bring it home, right? Again, the lesson here is it's not what you're doing, it's who you're being, right? If we consider in our body, it's like, all right, well, what does that mean? It might feel a little bit heady for a lot of people. Our nervous system has two states, rest and digest and fight or flight. If you consider the lockdown over the last few years, we were essentially the world was in a state of crisis. The world was in a state of fight or flight. So what did we do? We locked down and we closed non-essential businesses. That's what we did in a state of crisis. If we take that same lesson and bring it into our body, we have crisis and rest and digest, right?
Right.
When we are in a state of crisis, our body also shuts down non-essential businesses. And guess what is a non-essential business in our body, Christina?
Stress.
No, that is essential. What is not essential is digestion.
Oh, yes, that's right. Right.
Stress is an essential piece. But if we don't have the recovery side, we get locked in this state of stress.
Right.
You can do a quick Google if anyone's listening to this. What does stress do to my body? Look at there's a tree that you can look at. Parasympathetic responses, sympathetic responses. When we are in a chronically stressed state, when our body is in a state of chaos, we go into lockdown. Our body is so smart. Our body says, oh, I don't need to worry about digesting my lunch. I need to worry about running from that tiger. And that tiger looks like in-laws in traffic and my boss that's yelling at me. So all day long, your body is not producing stomach acid or saliva in your mouth. Your body is not emptying your stomach properly of the food. It's just sitting there and fermenting. No wonder why you have reflux and you're burping and you have gas. Bile is not being created from your liver, pancreas. Your peristalsis and migrating motor complex, the actual movement of your intestines shuts down. We could go for days without eating food. We can survive for weeks without food as long as we stay hydrated. Digestion is a non-essential business, and in a state of crisis, we close the doors to that non-essential business.
See, for me, I was thinking it is essential, right?
We assume it is. But what is essential? Our heart, our lungs, and our brain. That's right. Pretty much it. So when we're in a state of crisis, blood flows to our heart, our lung, and our brain. Pretty much everything else goes. If you're out and stuck somewhere in the Arctic, the organs, you're going to start losing your fingers and your toes first because your body is going to prioritize warmth to your heart, your lungs, and your brain
to keep you going. Yeah,
keep it going. Ultimately, I mean, our body is very, 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 very smart, which is another thing that we've been convinced otherwise. So something else that we do here at the agency is we start to remind you that you can in-source your knowledge. We're no longer going to start outsourcing what we think we know about health and wellness to all the quote unquote gurus out there. We are going to help redirect. We're going to hold a mirror to your wisdom even this morning, we just got off a group call with the members of the agency, and one of the ladies said, I got the results of my GI map test, and all it did was validate what I already knew to be true. Said, exactly. But for high performing people, oftentimes it's really helpful to see things on paper, because for so long we've been convinced that what we see and feel and know is wrong. We've been convinced that we have to look to the professionals to know what we know, and ultimately your gut instinct is the ultimate truth. Your spirit knows exactly what you need in order to nourish yourself. So, there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen. And this is, the big lesson, again, the takeaway here when it comes to gut health, especially for high performing people. If you're doing all the things, but you still feel like crap, you got to reassess who you are being throughout your day. And this is how having a health coach along with a registered dietitian is going to be really helpful, because we're going to give you super little nuggets of wisdom for you to go, now I get it.
Put it all together.
And then we're going to help give you little tiny tools to start implementing slow, mindful habit change. That's what it's all about. It's about habit change. But at the end of the day, if your subconscious mind is in a survival state, habit change is not even an option. I'm sure, Christina, you have felt this way, where you get in a fight and it's just black and white thinking. If you're triggered, if something happened in your life, it's just loom and doom. The body's like, nope, shut down. I can't think. I can't see. All I know is that this sucks and I suck and I'm the worst, and that's it. It's very black and white. If we can drop back into a state of curiosity about it all, and if we can remind our subconscious brain that actually we're safe, this is not an appropriate time to seek safety, love, and acceptance, now we can start pushing the needle in a totally new way. And this is exactly how we're helping people heal in 6 months without eliminating foods. Actually, it's the complete opposite. We're going to start adding diversity. All those foods that you say, somebody at once told me this, I got this food sensitivity test, and it told me that I'm sensitive to every cruciferous vegetable out there. So I haven't eaten broccoli in 18 years. Like, no wonder why when you eat broccoli, you get bloated. Because now your gut is saying, what the hell is this?
What's this? I'm not used to this. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Chelsea, for coming on today. We could talk for a really long time about this. That just means I'll have to have you on again. But I just wanted to thank you again for sharing with us some of your knowledge and a really important lesson for our viewers and listeners to learn today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's how we make healing easy, and it gets to be easy. And actually reassessing your desires in life and reminding yourself that you're worthy of everything that you desire, innately worthy. Like, you are made in the image of God. Like, of course, you're innately worthy of all that you desire. And in the first 7 years of life, you learn some things that you're still operating. You're basically just a child in an adult's body, and you're still trying to figure out how to navigate the world. And we help you do that in a much more efficient, quick, and easy, and guess what? Pleasurable kind of way. It gets to be really fun.
And safe. It's safe. And so I love that. So again, thank you so much for being on today. Welcome. And thank you, Christina. No problem. And as we always say, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo.